We knew they would start fast. Aston Villa are a top side, and their record here at Villa Park is what it is for a reason. So we knew that. We was disappointed, obviously, with the start, but we showed great character to get ourselves back into the game and to come in at half-time 1-1. And then the second half, we went out and we started the half okay. Probably around about the hour mark when we conceded the second. Maybe the physicality and the effort maybe caught up with us from the previous two games, and from that moment on we made a few technical errors that was a little bit unlike us, that led to goals that has been unlike us in recent weeks. But again, full credit to the players. The effort they've put in this last week is been there for everybody to see, but maybe it was just a step too far this week.
Aston Villa had also had Friday and a busy week with PSG at home, and they played the previous weekend 3-0 win at Southampton, but they didn't look tired. But obviously they have a much deeper and much stronger squad than Newcastle United do.
You'd think with all that Champions League dosh, they might find some money for some oil for that squeaky door they've got there in the background. But anyway, they named Newcastle the same team for what is it, seven matches in a row. Villa did make changes.
Well, that's the point that I'm making there about the depth of their squad, because they took out Rashford and put Watkins back in. Watkins was a very determined man at the weekend. He's a top striker, and we saw that on Saturday. Maatsen came in at left back and scored the crucial second goal. There were other Aston Villa changes beyond that around the team, and then later on they brought on some of the players that were left out and others, and they just have depth that Newcastle don't. They made signings in the January window, whether it was Marco Asensio on loan from PSG, Marcus Rashford on loan from Man United, but Donyell Malen came in from Dortmund. He played against Newcastle in the Champions League last season. He was one of the players that they brought on late on. I mean, their bench was ridiculous, really. And Newcastle, we know because of PSR and what that's meant for the transfer policy, they don't have those quality options in reserve to the extent that Aston Villa do, or the ability, Ando, to rotate and not really weaken the team. Aston Villa could still stay at their high level by making 4 or 5 changes.
Yeah, people are saying, oh, well, he should have made changes, but what changes do you make? I mean, I think people would have been upset if any of that midfield three had been left out. From a centre-back point of view, what do you do? Do you bring Kraft in, or do you play Kraft at right back and leave Trippier out? Up front, you're very, very limited. I mean, he could have left Barnes out and brought Gordon in, but to be fair to Barnes, he hasn't played a great deal of football this season, so I don't think you can put tiredness down to Barnes. So do you do it with Murphy? And I think both Villa's fullbacks got really tight to wide players. They didn't let them turn and have a run at them. They didn't stand off so they could stick early balls into the box. Maatsen was terrific. His energy levels up and down that left side, and he scored a great goal, and people were saying, oh, well, Murphy didn't track him. Well, if you see the goal again, Murphy actually does track him. He just gets ahead of him. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Aston Villa, by the way, didn't have any injuries. Newcastle without Sven Botman and Lewis Hall. Now, Jason Tyndall said at the end of last week, Botman could actually be back in the squad this weekend against Ipswich. Jamal Lascelles is out still with a long-term injury. So they do have 2 or 3 out. Newcastle. Villa, a full squad and a great squad full of quality options.
Yeah, but, we've had Botman for, 4 games? We keep going on about Botman, but if we're honest with ourselves, he's played 4 games this season. So we haven't had him for a season. The whole situation is different. He's picked up that injury. And just when he was playing really, really well as well, the young man, but it's part and parcel. He, in previous games as well, he has made changes on the hour mark. He's brought big players off to give them a little bit of a breather. He's brought Isak off, he's brought Joe Linton off, he's brought Guimaraes off, brought Trippier off, so they got little bits of breathers. But when you looked at Villa's bench at the weekend, and you looked at ours. I mean, we did it, and you went, dear, oh dear. You know, it's
Quite a contrast.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the thing about it as well, Simon, they had game changers on the bench.
Yeah.
They had players who could come on.
So they really
make a huge
strengthened
influence.
in January.
We didn't really have that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Newcastle didn't create many chances. We're talking about Sunderland having chances and just missing the target. Newcastle didn't really have many chances at all, did they?
No, a few minutes ago we heard some of them there. The Isak shot, Tonali as well, and then the Fabian Schär header. But I think they were their 3 shots on target because the records only put down 3. Can't remember any more. Aston Villa played a lot of the game, especially the first half, around Newcastle's box, and were very, very dangerous. So again, you know, if you look at those numbers, those statistics, Villa come out on top.
I mean, Tielemans ran the show in midfield. He was brilliant. You know, everything went
You've always
through.
liked him, haven't you?
Yeah, and the thing is, they got him for nothing as well. You know, that's the...
You fancied him at Newcastle?
Yeah, but he was always their outlet. He was always available, and he started things off. And he was involved all the time. Some of the balls he played in the 4th goal, he's played that little ball through that we defended well, and it comes back to Albana. Great finish. But, you know, they just have good players all over the pitch. And